How's it going, trainers, and welcome to another Pokemon Go PvP video. Today we're going to be going over the newly announced Rose Cup. The Rose Cup is going to run from February 1st to February 29th. It's of course going to consist of Great League Pokemon with the CP 1500 or below, and this time it's going to be color based, so Pokemon that are either pink, red, purple, or gray as defined by the list on Bulbapedia. So if you need to look it up, just go to bulbapedia.com, look at the list filter, and you'll be able to find a color filter. Bans are Mythicals, Legendaries, Water types, and Bastiodon, thank God. Bastiodon, if you remember Kingdom, was a Dust Eater. I named mine Dust Eater. It's that bad, and it would have definitely ruled this meta. Important thing to note is Shinies aren't going to quite work. Think of something like Hypno. Hypno's primary color is yellow. Even though its shiny is pink, it's not going to qualify. It's all about primary color. So keep that in mind. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and look at a meta simplified infographic, at least part 1 of 2, that I created. So let's get on to that. Alright, so first off, this is part 1 of 2, of course. To me, these 6 categories kind of interact with each other the best, so they're the easiest to describe in this way. So yeah, let's go ahead and first talk about the top. The first is the ground typing, right at the top of the pyramid. The most meta-defining of the ground typing is GlitchxCor and Nidoking. GlitchxCor, you're going to want to have Fury Cutter, Night Slash, and Earthquake. GlitchxCor's positive matchups include Steelix and Probopass, Muck, Drapion, and Venomoth, Machamp and Medicham, Nidoking, Blaziken, and Alolan Marowak. Otherwise, its negative matchups tend to be Skarmory, Golbat, Wigglytuff, Clefable, all of the ghosts being Sableye, Haunter, and Drifblim, as well as Charizard. The other meta-defining ground type is Nidoking, with the legacy fast move of Fury Cutter, Earthquake, and Earth Power, and as previously discussed, Fury Cutter is absolutely needed if you're going to run Nidoking. Its fast move capabilities of building up energy for your charge moves is just ridiculous, so yeah, you need Fury Cutter. Its positive matchups include, again, the Steel types in Steelix Probopass, the Fighting types in Machamp and Medicham, and this time the Fairies, so Nidoking can actually handle Wigglytuff and Clefable like a Poison type as opposed to a Ground type. Also covers Skuntank and Muck, again loses to the Ghosts in Sableye, Haunter, Drifblim, the Fires, which are Alolan Marowak, Charizard, and Blaziken, the Flyers, Skarmory and Golbat, and Drapion. So the notable difference between the two is that GlitchxCor could pretty much cover the poisons, whereas Nidoking covers the fairies, and GlitchxCor could of course beat Nidoking itself. So next up, we're going to look back at this infographic, and we are going to see right away what the grounds do. GlitchxCor gets care of Nidoking, they both take care of the fairies, but more so Nidoking, as we now know. They take care of the steels, and they both take care of the fightings, and that's their primary roles. Next up, we are going to go ahead and move on to the steel type, which include Steelix and Probopass. Steelix, you're going to be wanting either Dragon Tail or Thunderfang. I kind of am favoring Thunderfang lately. It has the same positive and negative matchups relatively, but Thunderfang allows you to build up for charge moves faster. So otherwise, you're going to want one of those two, and Earthquake and Crunch, so the normal moveset for Steelix. Its capability is to counter the fairies, Wigglytuff and Clefable, the poisons being Muck, Drapion, Venomoth, Flyers, Skarmory, Golbat, Probopass, Sableye, and Drifblim. Otherwise, it falls to the Fires, Charizard, Blaziken, Alolan Marowak, the Grounds, GlitchxCor, Nidoking, the Fighters, Machamp and Medicham, as well as Haunter. Next up, we have Probopass. Probopass, you're going to be wanting to run Rock Throw, Rock Blast, and Magnet Bomb. That's right, no electric moves, although they would be good against Skarmory and Golbat. Rock Blast does that for you, as well as gets other good matchups for you, so it's kind of unnecessary to run electric moves. Probopass can counter the poisons, Muck, Drapion, Venomoth, the Flyers, Skarmory, Golbat, the Fairies, Wigglytuff, Clefable, all 3 of the ghosts, that includes Haunter, unlike Steelix, so Sableye, Haunter, and Drifblim, as well as Charizard. Now again, just like Steelix, Probopass's negative matchups are the grounds in Nidoking and GlitchxCor, the fighters being Medicham and Machamp, Steelix, Alolan Marowak, and Blaziken. So really the biggest difference is that Steelix is best against Probopass, whereas Steelix falls to the fires, and one of the ghosts being Haunter, whereas Probopass can pick those matchups up. So yeah. Next up, we're going to look again at the infographic. Again, right away you can see that steals pretty much counter the flyers in this infographic. That's pretty much their only major role as far as these 6. Next up, we're going to go ahead and talk about the fairy typing. The fairy typings include Wigglytuff and Clefable. Wigglytuff, you're of course going to want Charm, Ice Beam, Play Rough, and its main purpose is to counter the fighters, Medicham, Machamp, the ghosts, Haunter, Drifblim, and Sableye, as well as its co-fairy, Clefable, Blaziken, Drapion, and Gliscor. Otherwise, it falls to the steel types, Probopass and Steelix, the flyers, Skarmory and Golbat, Skuntank, Venomoth, Alola Marowak, Charizard, Nidoking, and Muk. Next we have Clefable. Clefable is definitely a little different. It could, just like Wigglytuff, beat both the fighters, Medicham, and Machamp, whereas for the ghost, it cannot beat Haunter. It only beats Sableye and Drifblim. But otherwise, just like Wigglytuff, beats Blaziken, Drapion, and Gliscor. That's pretty much the major difference, is the Haunter matchup, really. But the losses for Clefable, we'll go ahead and detail them, are the Steels, the Flyers, Skuntank, Venomoth, Alola Marowak, Charizard, Nidoking, Muk, Haunter, and its co-fairy Wigglytuff. So I think it's easy to say that Wigglytuff is better. However, it can be argued that Clefable has kind of a better moveset. It has Charm, Meteor Mash, and Psychic, so Meteor Mash gives you coverage against other fairies, whereas Psychic, of course, gives you coverage against poisons, gives you coverage against the fighters, so Clefable has more versatility, but again with Charm, just like in the past, Charm is like a Razor Leaf. It doesn't build up enough energy, so you're not really going to get too many charge moves, so yeah, let's go ahead and go back to the infographic. As we can see, the fairies directly counter the ghosts, and what's nice about that is something like Sableye being a ghost dart type, its only real weakness is fairy, so you could argue that a fairy is pretty necessary in a team of 6, but that is yet to be seen. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the ghosts. The ghost type category consists of Sableye, Haunter, and Drifblim. These are the 3 definitely most meta defining Pokemon. I think I'm going to stop detailing the, like when it says against fighting, both detailing all the fighting types of the thing. I'm just going to say it covers that whole category. So let's start with Sableye. Sableye has fantastic coverage against the fighting typing as a whole, the fire category, its co-ghost being Drifblim and Haunter, as well as Nidoking, Venomoth, Muk, and Golbat. Its negative matchups being steel types, so Steelix and Probopass, and the fairies. As we said, it's a ghost dart type, so fairies are a no-no. It's bad against Gliscor, Skarmory, and Drapion. Skarmory is a little bit debatable thanks to its moveset of, Shadow Claw, Power Gem, and Foul Play. You kind of have a bit of a play with Power Gem there, Rock being a weakness to the flying typing. So it's just based off of shields, it is pretty close. Next up we have Haunter with, of course, Shadow Claw, Shadow Punch, and Legacy Shadow Ball. I do not think that Sludge Bomb is going to be usable. You really want that Legacy Shadow Ball. It's so spammy, and it allows you to get just good neutral damage against everything. But otherwise, Haunter's great matchups are against the fighters, the grounds, the fires, and the flying. So that's 4 whole categories that Haunter covers. It also covers Drifblim, Muk, Skuntank, Clefable, and Steelix. Its negative matchups in the core of the meta are Drapion, Probopass, Wigglytuff, Venomoth, and Sableye. So it's a pretty deadly bond if you can get your hands on it. Next up we have Drifblim. Drifblim with Hex, Shadow Ball, and Icy Wind. Icy Wind is a newly buffed move and released from Legacy, so it's pretty crazy, as we already know. But Drifblim's positive matchups are against the fighters, the grounds, Muk, Venomoth, Blaziken, and Skarmory. Its negative matchups are the steel category and the fairy category, Drapion, Skuntank, Sableye, Haunter, Alola Marowak, Charizard, and Golbat. So looking at these 3 ghosts, you can kind of see that Sableye trumps Haunter, Haunter trumps Drifblim. So the top 2, of course, both beat Drifblim. And Haunter does have plays against Sableye, I will be honest, but majority not so much just because of Haunter's glassiness. So it's just based off the coverage that you need. They all have their differences. Just, yeah. let's go ahead and go back to the infographic, and there you'll be able to see clearly that Sableye counters Haunter, Haunter counters Driftbloom, and the Ghost have the capability of countering the Steels. Oh no, my bad, I'm looking at Steelix. The Grounds, the Flyers, and the Fighters. So that's 3 categories that all 3 of them just automatically cover. And if you can remember, Haunter allows you to cover both of the Steel types. Oof. Not both the Steel types, both of the Ground types. Jeez. Get your stuff straight. Alright. Moving on, we're going to cover the Flyers next. The Flyer category consists of the infamous Skarmory and Golbat. Skarmory, as always, you're going to want to run Wing Attack, Sky Attack, and Flash Cannon. It has positive matchups against the Ground, Fairy, and Poison category. That's 3 of the 6 categories. Blaziken, Machamp, Sableye, and Golbat. Well, I guess I shouldn't say 6 categories. There's really 8. Just in the original infographic has 6. Its negative matchups are against Steel types, being Steelix and Probopass, Charizard, Alola Marowak, Medicham, and Haunter. As previously discussed, both Sableye and Haunter are iffy as far as positive and negative. Sableye being in the win category is solely based off of Skarmory can beat it in the 0 and the 2 scenario, whereas Skarmory loses in those same scenarios to Haunter but wins in the 1. Next up we have Golbat. Golbat with Wing Attack, Shadow Ball, and Poison Fang. It has positive matchups against the Ground, Fairy, and Fighting category, Muck, Skuntank, Blaziken, Alola Marowak, and Drifblim. Its negative matchups are the Steel category, Charizard, Haunter, Sableye, Venomoth, Drapion, and Skarmory. So again, looking at the 2, you clearly see Skarmory beats Golbat, and the key differences are Skarmory covers all the poisons, whereas Golbat covers all the fightings. Only difference there being, again, Golbat beats Alolan Marowak, whereas Skarmory does not. And yeah, that's the key differences. So let's go ahead and move on back to the infographic. And here we can definitely see that the Flyers immediately counter the Fairy category and the Fighter category. And Skarmory beats Golbat. So we've covered 5 of these 6. Next up, we're going to cover the Fighting type category. The Fighters include Medicham and Machamp. Machamp actually has a higher rank on PvPoke, which is pretty interesting. However, Medicham does beat Machamp head-to-head. Let's go ahead and start with Medicham. The preferred moveset as of right now is Counter, Ice Punch, and Dynamic Punch. However, that could obviously change. There's Psychic, there's Power Up Punch, there's... Every move is useful, it's just how you decide to use it, but that is what PvPoke designates as the best moveset for Medicham. With that moveset, Medicham is able to counter the entire Steel-type category, Drapion, Skuntank, Blaziken, Machamp, and Skarmory. Its negative matchups are the Ground category, the Ghost and Fairy category, Muck, Charizard, Golbat, Venomoth, and Alola Marowak. Machamp, you are going to want Counter, Cross Chop, and Rock Slide. It's able to cover the Steel category, Drapion, Skuntank, Blaziken, and Sableye. Its negative matchups, again, are the Ground and Fairy category, and this time all of the Flying category. Then Muck, Charizard, Venomoth, Alola Marowak, Drifblim, Haunter, and Medicham. That is a mouthful of matchups. Oof. The Fighters have their wins. They're good against the Steels, they're good against Drapion, Skuntank, Blaziken, and Machamp's good against Sableye, whereas Medicham is good against Skarmory. And that's pretty much the biggest difference between the 2, other than the fact that Medicham just directly counters Machamp thanks to its Psychic subtyping and capability of having a Psychic charge move being Psychic. So we're going to go back to the original infographic one last time, and we're going to be able to see that Medicham beats Machamp and the Fighters beat the Steels, and that is their main purpose amongst the meta. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at step 2 of the infographic. So this side of the infographic is going to go ahead and cover the Fire and Poison category. The reason I decided not to include them is because they all have pretty diverse coverage, even though I have them put into a category. They all kind of do different things, even though they share a typing with one another. So we're going to go ahead and detail into that. So first, let's go ahead and start with Fire types. The first of which is going to be Alolan Marowak. Now its moveset this time, instead of this past meta, is going to be Hex for the fast move, Bone Club, and Shadow Ball. This moveset allows you to cover the entire fighting, steel, flying, and fairy category. That's pretty massive. That's half of the entire meta just handled with Alolan Marowak. Otherwise it loses to the ground and ghost categories, so pretty well off. Pretty good. I don't see its coverage against the fire types in here, but I do know that Alolan Marowak is pretty close with Charizard. It's kind of even, and it is capable of beating, what's it called, Blaziken, because Ghost is great against fighting subtyping. Next up, let's go with Charizard. Charizard, this time around, you're going to want Fire Spin, Blast Burn, and Dragon Claw. So I hope this past December Community Day you made yourself a Charizard, because it is fantastic in PvP. Charizard has positive matchups against the fighting, flying, and ground category, as well as Steelix. Its negative matchups are the poison and ghost category, and Probopass. Everyone knows Charizard does not like rock type damage. Fire and flying don't mix well with that. Next up we have Blaziken. Blaziken with Counter, Blast Burn, and Blaze Kick is going to help you cover the steel category, Nidoking, Muck, and Drapion. Otherwise it's going to be falling to the flying, fairy, and ghost category, Gliscor, and Venomoth. So it's not really used as a fire type, it's more as used as a fire, but its double fire type charge move allows for great fire type damage, so that's kind of its niche. Now we can move on to the poison category. The poison category is going to consist of Kanto Muck, Drapion, and Venomoth. Kanto Muck, you're going to be wanting, Snarl, Thunder Punch, and Dark Pulse. That's going to allow you to cover the ghost and fire category, whereas you fall to the steel, fighting, and fairy category. Next we have Drapion with Bite, Fell Stinger, and Aqua Tail. This is going to allow you to cover the ghost category, Alolan Marowak, and Charizard. And yes, you heard right, Aqua Tail. That is your one way to get water damage in this cup, and it's quite good. It has a lot of strange wins in the meta that you just wouldn't expect. However, it does fall to the steel, fairy, and ground category, as well as Blaziken, so keep that in mind. Lastly, we have Venomoth here. Venomoth can actually be run in several different ways. Either way, you're going to want Confusion as your fast move, you're going to want Silver Wind, and then if you have the Legacy Poison thing, I of course recommend it, but otherwise you're going to be okay to go with Psychic, because it's going to give you coverage against the poison types, at least Muck that is, and the fighters being Machamp and Medicham and even Blaziken, so it's definitely not to be forgotten, I would say. Venomoth's positive matchups are the fairy and fighting category and Blaziken, that confusion damage. Negative matchups being the steel and ghost category, then Alolan Marowak and Charizard, and that is pretty much it. That is all 8 categories that I feel are pretty meta. I think it's about 19-ish Pokemon. There are of course going to be other sleeper picks, other wild cards. I mean, you can make a case for a lot of things, and there's going to be a lot of good team decisions in here, and it's just kind of what you feel fits the role best. And I really want to say that Fire and Poison are still great and deserve to be in a main infographic with the others. It's just they're so outside the box that they could almost be considered wildcard picks, but it seems unfair to do that to something, let's say, like Alolan Marowak that covers half the meta just by itself. It's pretty ridiculous. So next up, we're going to go ahead and go over my actual first game of 3 for Rose Cup and seeing how some of these Pokemon kind of work. So let's go ahead and look at the gameplay. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and lead with my shiny Gliscor. We're going to lead right into a Skarmory. That is not too great of a matchup. It is positive, but we gotta pretty much devote shields to it. So we're going to go straight for the Night Slash, which is kind of the shield baity move of Gliscor. He's not going to block it. You can see it doesn't do too much damage, but we're going to stick with it for a little bit. Kind of keep him thinking that we're going to do that for good. Get that down, try to get some shields. Nope, so 2 gets him to half health. That's pretty fantastic. We're going to get a shield because I think he could have a Flash Cannon by now, which will do massive damage to Gliscor, but he go ahead and goes for the Sky Attack. We get to our 3rd Night Slash before he gets to another, and get him in the red. We need 1 more Night Slash to take the win, and we decide not to block, even though it could be a Flash Cannon. And it is another Sky Attack, which still gets us to the red. And we just missed the Night Slash. I thought I could have got to it, but oh well. I opt to go to my Skarmory, and just tank whatever's coming at me. Let's see what he got. It is a sky attack, so that's definitely okay. We're just gonna fast move him out of here. See what he's got. Let's see. He comes in with the GlitchxCor. I'm gonna go ahead and hit that with a flash cannon, so hopefully we'll get to see how much damage this does. But he shields it, so we're gonna stick in with it for a little bit. So we get to. And I anticipate this to be a Night Slash, but unfortunately it's an Earthquake. And as you can see, that turns the whole game around. So we're gonna go for Sky Attack, get whatever damage we can. Take his final shield, and then we're gonna go ahead and switch out of this and leave that for kind of an extra shield. Go for a foul play, and I'm gonna go ahead and opt to shield this, because if he gets an Earthquake off, it will wreck us, and he does Earthquake, so it was a good shield. We're gonna foul play this GlitchxCor out of here. He's out of shields. Now we're gonna see what his last Pokemon is. It's a Clefable. This is a horrible matchup. I'm gonna go for the Power Gem, and honestly, I think I should have just gone for a foul play and trying to get to a second one, but we're gonna try to get the Power Gem off. It does okay, but Sableye one weakness is Fairy, and we're gonna come in with an almost dead Skarmory and fall. So GG. Going into game 2, we're gonna go ahead and lead with Sableye this time, and we lead into a Steelix. Now, this is definitely not a good matchup, like not at all, and my team that I brought is also not great against Steelix, but we're going to switch into Skarmory. Skarmory does not exactly have a good matchup against Steelix either, but it's kind of the best of the scenario that we could be in. He comes in with a Charizard, and we're going to go ahead and just Sky Attack. I'm okay. I'm just going to block whatever Blast Burns come. Try not to fall for the Dragon Claw bait. We're going to get to another Sky Attack. To me, it's clear he's going straight for Blast Burn. Hopefully this one lands. It doesn't. We are going to shield. This is definitely a Blast Burn. Trying to keep the Skarmory alive long enough to switch. He has no shields anymore, and we are going to switch to our Probopass and tank this. And I think it's going to be a Dragon Claw. I wouldn't shield either moves anyways. Dragon Claw. Awesome. We're going to fast move it down with the Rock Throw. And now he's going to come back in with that Steelix, and this is still not great. We're going to get our Magnet Bomb off, and I think I'm going to have to just pretty much sacrifice this Probopass now. It's kind of served its role, because its biggest thing it could be good against Charizard is already gone. So, I anticipate this to be an Earthquake. I'm not going to waste a shield on it. I'd rather keep Sableye alive, but he's going to go for a Crunch, and that's alright. We're going to get a little bit more damage, farm a little extra over. And I've kind of decided to go ahead and shield this Probopass and save it in the back and just switch to Sableye. So we're going to switch to Sableye, and a foul play will take care of the Steelix. And that it does. Now he's going to come in with his Clefable. My god, Clefable just keeps beating my Sableyes, but we're going to get a foul play off before it dies. That's fine. Some extra chip damage. And we're okay. It does a decent amount of damage considering. We're going to switch to Probopass because it has a charged up Magnet Bomb, and Steel is super effective against Fairy, so that's going to be a quick GG. Now, let's go ahead and move on to Game 3. Game 3, I'm going to try the GlitchxCor lead one more time, see if it works out for us, and it does. He leads with a Medicham. This is fantastic. Fantastic. Or stick with it. Night Slash is technically super effective, but we gotta remember that Night Slash isn't that much damage per energy. It's just kind of a shield baiting move, because as you can see, it doesn't do that much. Now, I'm afraid this could definitely be an Ice Punch. An Ice Punch would not be good, but I think he's running an unconventional moveset. He's got Power Up Punch. We're gonna go for another Night Slash. This time he shields it, and this is awesome. We're just gonna keep going for Night Slashes. This could be an Ice Punch if he's running Power Punch, Ice Punch, but it'd also be a Psychic, and that it is, and it almost kills us. We get to the Night Slash with like 1 HP left, so that's pretty clutch. GlitchxCor doing its job. I switch right away with that 1 HP left to Haunter to go ahead and get that up there and get some energy on Haunter. See what he has. He has a Skarmory, and that's okay, honestly. We're going to charge up to the Shadow Ball and go straight for the Shadow Punch and try to bait a shield. We don't get the shield, but we get decent damage. We're going to get right to another Shadow Punch, and I'm not kidding around this time. I'm not going to go ahead and blow off the Shadow Ball. I'm just going to Shadow Punch it away. Give the Haunter the shield. Here comes the Shadow Punch. we get the final shield out of it. And we're going to try to get one more Shadow Punch for death, and we do. Well done, Haunter. And that's actually going to almost kill, and then Fast Move kill it. And we're going to go ahead and let Haunter be sacrificially killed to Charizard and come in with our Probopass, and he is as good as dead at this point. Both Blast Burn and Dragon Claw, and even if he had Overheat, ain't going to do anything to my Probopass. So there it goes. And then we finish it off with Fast Moves, and that's going to be GG. Alright guys, so that is the Rose Cup Meta Simplified, as well as a quick game of 3 to kind of show you how some of them work. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.